Welcome back to Luxury World. Get inspired with us today and tomorrow. It's still exciting to see a Rolex out in the public, just like it is to see a white Mustang driving down the street. Whereas most Rolex purchases are marred by their predictability, discovering a Tudor shows the owner has put some consideration into how they spend their money. Needless to say, an individual who desires something more economical but also more intriguing than the rest of the population has made a deliberate buy. In this video, Luxury World will be taking you on a closer look at the Swiss manufacturer of wristwatches, Tudor. Here, you will also come to know why Tudor can be a much better choice than the most famous wristwatch luxury brand Rolex. But before we move on to the actual video, please don't forget to click the subscribe button to keep yourself updated with our latest uploads. In the same way that every person has a unique story, companies, brands, and business entities alike have their own fair share of tales that narrate their humble beginnings as well. Essentially, Tudor's history is similar to that of Rolex, but it has its own distinct storyline. Invented in Geneva in 1926 by Hans Wilsdorf, who founded Rolex 21 years earlier, Tudor is one of Switzerland's oldest watch brands. When Hans Wilsdorf first started Tudor, he wanted to make it cheaper than Rolex. And for over a century, Tudor has contentedly played a subordinate role to the Rolex brand. The two have long been seen as sister brands. Yet despite the fact that they share some components, their individual identities have remained distinct. But how are Tudor and Rolex any different really? Throughout the 1960s, 1970s, and 1980s, Tudor's use of waterproof casings and self-winding automatic movements endeared the brand to the fleets of various nations, most notably the US Navy SEALs and French Marine Nationale. During the same period, Tudor developed its own distinguished characteristics, such as the snowflake hands that were revived during the company's 2009 brand revamp. Between the 1980s and the late 2000s, Tudor was mostly inactive. Since the conclusion of the previous decade, however, the brand has re-emerged with vigor. In-house initiatives, industry honors, and big-hitting marketing campaigns through celebrity and public figures like David Beckham and Lady Gaga were all used to make up for the extended gap between releases. Additionally, the organization earned sponsorship and official timekeeping commitments for high-profile events, including the 2019 Rugby World Cup. In contrast to Tudor's modern advertising technique, which prominently features brand ambassadors, Rolex's advertisements focus on the watches themselves, while keeping the renowned list of testimonies as their marketing highlight. Furthermore, there's the practicality of the items themselves to take into account. The Black Bay 58 from Tudor has been a huge sensation since it was introduced in 2018, thanks to its subtle vintage styling, practical case sizes, and a wide variety of straps and colorways. Just the correct amount of color diversity, but not so much that it deviates from the original design brief too much. Rolex first established its now legendary status on the strength and water resistance of its oyster casing. In the past, Tudor achieved its more affordable price range by utilizing generic movements and case components produced by Rolex. The mechanisms utilized in Tudor watches were very comparable to those utilized by a number of other manufacturers. Their Rolex-made casings assured that they maintained the same level of water resistance and durability as their more expensive siblings. Using in-house movements has enhanced the value proposition of Tudor watches such as the Tudor Ranger. In addition, scratch-resistant ceramic bezels, silicone hairsprings, and titanium casings are now being included in a number of Tudor's models. These technologies enable the brand's products to be technologically comparable to Rolex's modern watches. In spite of the fact that the features being emphasized in this video isn't new, it produces a product catalog wide enough to satisfy most preferences, without overwhelming customers with too many options at once. Nevertheless, despite Tudor being possibly more style-conscious than its older sibling, the watches in its current collection are exquisite in their own right. The combination of a forward-thinking mentality and Rolex-derived craftsmanship has many collectors praising Tudor as the smart buyer's option. In addition, the price difference both at retail and in the secondary market is substantial. Tudor's most expensive watches, such as the Tudor Black Bay and Pelagos, cost nearly half as much as Rolex's entry-level watches, such as the Datejust and Rolex Submariner. Several notable collectors were surprised to discover that their Tudor clocks kept time as accurately as their Rolex counterparts. Therefore, it is reasonable to assert that the movements and their performances are not as vastly different as their retail pricing may imply. How did Tudor make this possible? Tudor's use of third-party movements has always been the primary cause for the pricing disparity between its sibling brand, until very recently. Purchasing calibers, mostly from Swiss Ebouche manufacturers ETA or Valjoux, is less expensive than developing and constructing all of your engines in-house, as Rolex has worked to accomplish for decades. Rolex produces arguably the best mechanical movements of any company, and the price of its goods reflects this expertise. Comparatively, the fact that Tudor's calibers have always been sourced outside has deprived the brand of bragging rights, keeping it out of the very top rank among collectors. However, despite all the pros and cons to that, Tudor has firmly established itself as one of the world's leading affordable luxury watchmakers in the years since its global relaunch. Tudor incorporated its own internal movements and drew inspiration for its design from its rich past. When it comes to luxury watch market, Rolex is losing ground to Tudor as the price of its timepieces rises, and the brand targets an increasingly affluent clientele. As a high-end watchmaker, Tudor watches are yet affordable for the average person to purchase. For as long as anybody can remember, Tudor has been compared to Rolex, and the difference between these two iconic brands has never been less with the latest Tudor catalog upgrades. Indeed, luxury and accessibility are nicely matched in Tudor. Since the management of Rolex and Tudor are in lockstep, the two brands will never be in direct rivalry. However, as Rolex's position within the high-end watch industry becomes increasingly luxury-oriented, Tudor is ideally positioned to cater the countless purchasers for whom a Rolex may now be a little out of their price range. In this day and age where a watch is more than just a fashion statement, but more of a reflection of an individual's character and taste, there are some watchmakers that are confusing luxury with exclusivity. Luxuries should be accessible to most people at some point in their lives. Purchasing high-end goods is a way to join a select group of people who share your taste in luxury goods. But unlike the exclusive clubs of Rolex, Patek, and the like, the Tudor one is available to everyone, regardless of financial capabilities. As we end this video here at Luxury World, we wish to put an emphasis on the matter of choosing which brand to go for. When it comes to choosing the finest brand, there's no one-size-fits-all answer, but rather the one that works best for you and your budget. Whichever brand you choose, you'll be getting a high-end luxury watch that represents the pinnacle of mechanical watchmaking. Just always go for the brands that you and future generations will be able to rely on in terms of timepieces. And that's all about it for Tudor. What are your thoughts on this brand? Will it be more likely to be your choice than a Rolex? Let us know your personal opinion by writing it down in the comment box below. Also, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel. If you like to see more videos like this from us, then please share this video with one person if you think that we have provided value to you through content like this. This is Luxury World. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.